Good evening, everyone. I would like to call to order the regular meeting of the Langley Board of Education at 7:02 p.m. and start by first acknowledging that the Langley School District is located on the traditional, ancestral, and unceded territories of the Matsqui, Katzie, and Semiahmoo First Nations. We gather here tonight in an understanding of the importance of Yayastul Skekiyais working together and not Samat, Let Samat, uniting ourselves with one mind, one heart, to ensure that we support and inspire all learners to reach their full potential. Just before we move on to our next item of business, I'd like to make some introductions of our partner groups joining us this evening and our staff and trustees. We have from our Board of Education, starting on my right, Trustee Ward, and then Trustee Dickinson, Vice Chair Wilson, and then we have Superintendent Gill, myself, Chair Ashdown, Secretary Treasurer Isley, Trustee Rye, Trustee Fox, and Trustee Neufeld. We have here this evening as well, Woody Bradford, Deputy Superintendent, Lisa Langeberry, Assistant Superintendent, Marcello Moino, Assistant Superintendent, Assistant Secretary Treasurer Shind Chand, Director of Communications Joanne Abshire, Executive Assistant Claire Pereira, Technical Support Specialist 3, Paul Baboa, Technical Support Specialist 3, Vincent Montefrio, Director, Student Support Services, Michael Morgan, District Principal, Instructional Services and Inclusion, Kendra Simonetto, District Principal, Human Resources, Kevin Reeve, Director of Instruction, George Koslovic, TPAC President, Jennifer Piper, LPVPA President, Paul Trottle, and LTA President, Taylor Photo. And I almost forgot to mention as well that to remind those in attendance that as for policy number 7, regular and special meetings of the board may be streamed live, archived, and accessed online. The board reserves at its sole discretion via motion at any meeting the right to not stream live or archive a meeting or a portion of a meeting. Further, the board reserves the right to edit any recorded portion of a meeting. Thank you. All right, before we move on to the business portion of our meeting, I'd like to say a few words. On behalf of the Langley Board of Education, I would like to acknowledge the devastating tragedy that happened at the Filipino Lapu-Lapu Festival in Vancouver. There are truly no words to capture the heartbreak and loss experienced by those who lost their lives, their loved ones, and the wider Filipino and local communities. At this time, we will observe a minute of silence to honor those who lost their lives and were injured, as well as recognize the families and communities who are mourning. Could I ask everyone to please stand? Thank you. Please have a seat. I'm going to pass this over to you now, Vice Chair Wilson, to do the report from in camera.
Great. I have 3 meetings to report on. We had a special in-camera meeting April 15th, 2025, and the business was parent appeal. We had a special in-camera meeting April 28th, 2025, and the business was parent appeal. And at tonight's in-camera meeting, our business included property and personnel.
Thank you. Trustees, you have before you the consent agenda. Could I please have a mover that the Board of Education adopts the consent agenda items as provided? Moved by Trustee Dickinson, seconded by Trustee Fox. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried unanimously. You also have the agenda in front of you. Could I please have a mover that the agenda be approved as presented? Moved by Trustee Fox, seconded by Trustee Dickinson. All those in favor? Any opposed? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Moving along to delegations, we have, I'd like to welcome Wendy Cook here, who's here on behalf of the New Westminster and District Labor Council, presenting on the day of mourning for workers killed and injured. Welcome, Wendy.
All right. Taylor has the camera. I don't like pictures, but I was told by Janet Andrews I had to get a shot so they can put it somewhere. So I don't know where, but they're going to put it somewhere. That's it. Okay, so here goes. That's it now. Thank you. So good evening, and my name is Wendy Cook, and I'm a delegate of the New West District, Westminster and District Labor Council, a member of the BCTF and LTA Union, but I am also the BCTF rep on the New West District Labor Council Executive. Each year, the New Westminster and District Labor Council presents to city councils and school boards in our region to seek support and recognition of April 28th as the day of mourning for workers killed and injured on the job. This was yesterday. Yes, there was an election yesterday, so this might have been forgotten by a lot of people. And so this is why it is good that we actually take the time now to recognize this. We believe workplace health and safety is everyone's responsibility. This year, workers across Canada are demanding action on invisible injuries and hazards. In 2023, more than 1,000 people in Canada died as a result of their work, an increase from 2022. Too many families lose loved ones to occupational diseases. And we know those numbers are not the whole story because they include only those fatalities accepted by the workers' compensation system. In cases of workplace exposure to toxic chemicals or materials like asbestos, effects only become apparent months, years, and decades later. I lost my husband December 5th, and that's one of the things they found that actually caused the cancer that he had. We also know that workplace injuries, accidents, and illnesses are severely underreported. In 2023, the most recent year there is data available, WorkSafe BC reported people missed over 4 million days of work due to work-related incidents and disease. WorkSafe BC also reported they accepted 175 work-related death claims, and our thoughts and sympathy go to the families of those workers. You'll know the slides. I'm not following them at all. You're welcome to look at them. I didn't. Okay, I'm just letting you know. Behind each of these statistics is a working person, a family, a friend, or a neighbor. These are people in your community, and the impacts from a workplace injury go far beyond time away from work. We can and must do better to keep workers safe and support injured workers and their families. Accountability is critical when it comes to health and safety at work. As workers, we hold each other accountable, reporting issues and dangers, and actively participating in our joint health and safety committees. We call on employers to invest in meaningful prevention measures, offer robust ongoing training, identify workplace hazards, and develop an action plan for addressing them, and ensure worker participation in developing and monitoring the systems that will make workplaces safer. Not all hazards are visible. Invisible injuries can occur and can include things like stress, anxiety, burnout, chronic pain, and hazards can include threats to air quality and airborne chemicals. Mental disorder injuries are caused by significant work-related stressors, including bullying, harassment, or one or more work-related traumatic events. This year, workers across Canada are fighting for better protections against invisible hazards and hazards that cause invisible injuries. We are calling on all levels of government to create greater awareness of invisible injuries and hazards through public awareness programs and campaigns, legislate air quality standards for indoor workers, ensure workers know the chemicals they use by ending consumer product exemptions in the workplace hazardous materials information system, and raising the standard for WHMIS education, and deliver consistent coverage of workplace injuries, including invisible injuries like chronic pain and stress. Education is the key to prevention, especially for our young workers, with 12% of workers injured in 2023 being under the age of 25. Teachers and support workers in schools and programs like the BC Federation of Labor Alive After 5, together with employer commitment to training, are critical to making sure young workers are not only safe at work, but will also not face lifelong impacts from preventable workplace injuries. There are different risks faced by workers in schools, pools, and rec centers, in hospitals, on construction sites, at ports, warehouses, shops, and restaurants, and for example, every threat to every worker's health and safety must be addressed. This is not just about accidents. It's about systematic failures in safety enforcement, worker protections, and political will. Workplace accidents and illnesses are preventable and should never be seen as just part of the job or the cost of doing business. This year marks the 21st anniversary of the West Ray Law coming into effect, named for the coal mine in Nova Scotia, where 26 men working underground lost their lives in an explosion. The law introduced a legal duty and accountability into the Criminal Code of Canada for corporations and individuals to take steps to prevent harm at work. A key piece of enforcement of the law is ensuring police and lawyers receive appropriate training and that prompt and thorough investigations are carried out. Unions in BC have fought hard for gains in ensuring appropriate WorkSafe BC coverage, but we know prevention is the most important action we can take. As union members, we also call on governments at all levels to remove barriers to joining a union, to ensure all workers have the protection and the rights that come with a union card, because strong unions make safe workplaces. Unions in BC have a long history of advocacy and taking action on workplace health and safety. I think teachers can particularly take a step in making sure the young workers know about the risks of the jobs and having those conversations with those young workers outside, inside of the classrooms, so they understand that they have rights, whether they're part of a union or whether they're not part of a union. And having done this and taught that age level, realizing how many of them were actually being harassed at work or not having the advantages that they should have had in the workplace. Sorry, that's an addition. Everyone here today can help us make a difference. Be safety conscious, support accountability measures, and health and safety education in your workplaces. Together, it is possible to take action, especially on invisible injuries and hazards at work. I would invite you to the New West District Labor Council meeting, but that was yesterday. So I just letting you know because it was the 28th. But I know that in the past, the board has also recognized that day. And so have our teachers in our district and other workers in our district as well. So thank you. This is respectfully presented by New West District Labor Council. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Wendy. So I would like to say then, in honor of workers who have lost their lives or suffered injuries, illness from their job, or experienced a workplace related tragedy, I would like to ask trustees, staff, partner groups, and guests to observe 1 minute of silence at this time. So if we could all please stand. Thank you. I'm sorry. It's my timer. Right, moving on to our agenda items. First up, we have superintendent's reports. 8.1, Indigenous anti-racism vision and strategy, and anti-racism vision and strategy. I'm going to pass this over to yourself.
Yeah, I just wanted to introduce Director Michael Morgan, who's going to be speaking on a topic that certainly he's put a ton of time and effort into. As a district, we talk lots about students' belonging and wellness for all. And again, we just heard from a number of young students before the camera session started. And just want to make sure that as a collective that we're being absolutely inclusive of all of our students and staff. And to that end, it's our responsibility in our district to ensure that we have a strong plan to support our students and staff when it comes to anti-racism. And leading that work is Michael Morgan.
Thank you very much, Superintendent Gill. It is my absolute honor to do this work. And I appreciate being given the responsibility to do it. I was remiss in my board report. Sometimes we keep going forward and we don't say and reflect, why is it that we're doing this? I think because we know it's work that needs to be done. But I thought it's really important as we start to look at the anti-racism plan that the evidence that we have throughout British Columbia is irrefutable that students in public education are experiencing acts of racism. And when that happens, it stops them from becoming fully who they are. And so we take a look at the Lion King performance tonight. That's what we want to see all the time, free of worry, free of concern about what I look like. And in this Racial Equity Together, the K-12 Anti-Racism Action Plan, just snippets of research that 3 in 5 British Columbia students who responded to a UBC survey had witnessed or were the victim of racism in BC public schools. And for those of us who have never been victims of racism, it's hard to put ourselves in those shoes. And that's what makes the work so significant and so meaningful. So I was remiss not putting that in the board report, but I also know how committed each and every one of you are to this work. This is the Ministry of Education's K-12 Anti-Racism Plan, Action Plan. They've centered around school support, community voice, removing barriers, raising awareness, collaborative change, and capacity building. And the ministry has given an expectation to each district that in the district strategic plan, we will have an anti-racism plan, each district in the province. And these are some really important principles that I'm proud that the district has always lived by, recognizing and respecting Indigenous rights, engaging Indigenous First Nations, Indigenous partners, education partners, community organizations. This one explicitly, I'm proud of, amplify and defer to the voices and perspectives of those with lived and living racism experiences. And then to demonstrate humility and a respect and a continuing improvement mindset. What I'm excited about is once we get to this last part of applying evidence-based decision-making, reflecting our best understanding of what we need to do. And tonight I'll share with you some of those processes because our best understanding of what to do comes from our children and their parents. We are education professionals. We know how to create these environments, but we can't create the environments if we don't know exactly what they need to look like. This is where it lives in our strategic plan. We have committed to equity, diversity, and inclusion and conducting a comprehensive scan and then establishing a vision and an action plan. And then the goal of anti-racism to create a framework to combat racism. We consulted with YIASTL in 2024, and after that consultation, district staff got together and determined that we needed to create 2 separate visions and plans. One that confronted racism against Indigenous peoples, so a specific vision and plan to address racism against Indigenous peoples, and then a separate plan and vision to address racism. Really important for us as we walk through why is that? What we heard loud and clear from the First Nations whose territories we operate on is they were very explicit that they wanted people to know about the reason for racism against Kwantlen, Katzie, Matsqui, and Semiahmoo. And that was important that people knew that the purpose of racism against them was to remove them from the lands that we work on today. And so being good listeners, we offered a vision of what anti-Indigenous racism could look like. We wanted to go and confirm their desire for this initiative and not assume, yeah, we're just going to go ahead and do it. And then allow them to determine their level of involvement in the planning and gather their feedback on a vision. We also asked them specifically about anti-racism as it related to groups of non-Indigenous people. These are the 5 R's of Indigenous research as presented by Verna J. Kirkness, an incredible Indigenous scholar. And she offered this as a way to engage with Indigenous communities when you're from a non-Indigenous organization. And Verna Kirkness was groundbreaking in her understanding that Indigenous communities have had information extracted out of them on an ongoing basis, and that how non-Indigenous organizations engage with them is extremely important. So with respect, having relevance to their community, reciprocity, that this could also help them, responsibility, that we're responsible with the knowledge we have, and most importantly, as we all know in this district, based on a center of relationship. So we inquired with Matsui, Kwantlen, and Catesy, have not been able to get a meeting with Semiahmoo in regards to what it is they might like. We've spoken with Chief Harley, and we just haven't been able to get into consultation yet. And then we requested feedback on the vision. And so Matsui, Kwantlen, and Catesy each wished for a vision. They said, yes, okay, this is important work for us. They were each supportive of the vision in general, while reserving their right to alter it if their community saw fit. So they said, we're the leadership, we may need to change it, but we're supportive of it in general. And then based on each First Nations lead, collaboration on our vision and plan has looked different. So I want to share with you the vision details. Again, going back to what I had shared earlier, understanding racism against Indigenous people, why it exists in Canada and Langley, and then the historical consequences, the impact of racism on Indigenous people in Langley, and the present day consequences, the current impact of racism on Indigenous people in Langley. They also wished for us to talk about the protective factors that their communities continue to play. So historical and present day measures by those First Nations to protect their children from racism. And then our district's commitments, specific actions and timelines to eradicate racism against Indigenous people while simultaneously providing protective factors. With Mathkui, it looks like collaboration with their education department. Really proud of the work our school district has done with Mathkui. Mathkui is almost complete, completed a curriculum that they will offer back, and our district teachers from our district have been involved with them each step of the way. With Kwantlen First Nations, it's been collaborations with their education staff and executive director. And with Catesy First Nation, it's been collaborations with elders and the elder coordinator. And so that just shows what each community wished for, how they wished to guide us in the creation of the vision. The next steps, we still have to present this vision now to Waichia Métis Society, and then present the vision to Lower Fraser Valley Aboriginal Society, and knowing that they represent people who are impacted differently than Kwantlen, Catesy, Matsui, and Semiahmoo are impacted. Important that every one of those groups, every one of those nations said to us, yes, you need to also get moving on an anti-racism plan for how racism has impacted other people in the community. And so to do that, we've centered the voice of students and parents, and then pushing out to how does the community, how do trustees, how do the partner groups, and how do district staff put into action what students and parents need to have. So this is what our student voice sessions look like. Again, going back to amplifying and defer to the voices and perspectives of those with lived and living racism experiences. Each of our middle schools and secondary schools have either department heads or team leads of diversity, equity, and inclusion. When we walked with Yayastil about how should we scan the district for racism, they were clear to us that they wanted it to be, rather than a large survey, they wanted us to find students that we knew had answers. They told us clearly, you know who these students are. Luckily for us, because of our diversity, equity, and inclusion department heads and our principals, we do. So students from the BIPOC community have been chosen for people who have leadership, people who've been tapped on the shoulder. And they have signed up for these student voice sessions. Our first one was on April 17th. Our last one will be on May 28th. So this is what the student voice session looked like. The first one, I was allowed to be a part of it. I'm not allowed to be a part of the other ones. We've got people doing the good work, so I'll step back out of it. Did a grounding session. We're not asking students to repeat things that have happened to them. We're not asking students to repeat their stories of racism. What we did was ask them to reverse brainstorm. How could you make reporting racism harder? How could you make racism worse in Langley schools? How could you allow racism to flourish more? And they took that, created all of these ideas about how they could make it worse, and then started to generate solutions based on that reverse brainstorm. Each student is allowed to choose their best solution. And then the spend $100, we didn't actually give anyone $100 yet, or we're not planning on giving them $100. They had $100 to spend, and they could spend that $100 on any or all or some of the solutions. So if I saw a solution, one of the solutions said, really important that every one of my teachers knows who I am and where I come from. And I have $100, I could say, I want that. Or I could spend my $100 across 6 in a bunch of different ways. I'm terrible at math, so I wouldn't split that up. Then we went through the closing exercise with them and explained to them that we would synthesize all of their data. The data lives with the school district itself, won't be shared out other than that, and then gave them my contact information to let them know if you have any other ideas, let's send them back through here, and have received some information back from students already. Our parent voice sessions are on May 8th and May 21st. And the way that we had gathered parent voice is we've had community members who have offered to help. We've entertained every one of the phone calls to the school district about how can I help, and we've sent out invitations to those people. We've also sent out invitations to the parents of the students who are in the student voice session. An important point for us to know is that all of the participants in these sessions are members of the BIPOC community. The parent voice sessions will look like this: a grounding session. One of the students in our first student voice session said, talking about racism is hard. Talking about racism that's happened towards your kid or your younger brother or sister must be really hard. So setting this up in a good way as parents come in to help us. They're going to be provided with solutions and strategies that have been used elsewhere in North America. They're going to generate other solutions, then prioritize those solutions, and then wrap up with a closing as well. The next steps for us would be to synthesize both the student voice and the parent voice, establish the priority actions for 2025, 2026, and then communicate those priority actions to the community, collaborate with the partner groups to implement the priority actions, and then on the next framework of our strategic plan, make sure that it is embedded, those actions are embedded in our next district strategic plan. At this point in time, I'd like to take any questions, comments, or concerns that trustees may have. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. Trustees, have any questions or comments I'd like to make? No. Trustee Fox.
Why would I stop out asking Michael questions? I'm really interested in the student voice sessions. I just at BCSDA AGM, and we had sessions, and one of them I attended was on student voice context of input. So you've got 6 sessions there. Can you just describe to me what they look like, not in the context of the process and so on? Like, were they at individual schools? Did you bring kids together? Were they middle schools and secondary? Can you just go over that?
Yeah, so thank you very much. The students will come in with groups of 6 from their school and another school. One of our sessions only has 1 school, students from grades 8 to 12. So they'll come in. Right now with our middle schools, we don't have any of our middle schools participating yet. So I'm going to have to go back out to those schools. I also have to go out to one of our alternate schools who've requested. Our students would prefer that you come out. So that's what that would look like. At first, you have a mix of students who are really interested in sharing their voice and students who are really shy. We sit down, We walk through it, do an introduction, do the grounding activity, and then start to brainstorm. And I would say within the first 10 minutes, the shyness starts to go away. The experience that these children have is invaluable. And then the energy is just buzzing. Yeah.
And so if you take that one step further, when you synthesize all of the material, the ideas, will you revisit with those students, or will you revisit with the coordinators in the school to allow them to? How would that get back, that feedback that validates that student and says, yeah, that was my input?
Yeah, what we've told the students is once you give us this information, we will list all of the students who participated, but we won't attribute one sort of strategy or success to one person. So we've explained to everybody, you'll see this before we release it out. This is our interpretation before we send it out to the community.
Okay, and then will you dovetail that with a parent voice as well?
With parent voice, we would follow through the exact same session. We have a large community, making sure that everybody understands this is what we heard, right? Going back out, and again, allowing people to write back into me saying, I thought I heard something different. Okay, thank you. This is what we've heard, and then move forward that way.
Okay, and my last point is, will we, I'm sure you're going to share that with district staff, but as a trustee, I'd like to see some of that, that synthesized information come, and just for information purposes.
Certainly.
Because you alluded to the fact that it was going to be, sorry, I'm pointing this way because that's the screen I got to look at, not because of you people. That's just what I got to look at. But you mentioned it's going to be sort of formulated to be part of the next step in the strategic plan formation for moving ahead.
Yeah.
So I think it's really important that we as trustees see that and understand that, so that when that conversation happens, if it happens, and we're involved.
Certainly.
Yeah.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you.
Any other trustees have any questions or comments? No? Thank you again. I know I thanked you at the committee meeting already, but thank you again for all of this important work that you're doing. It's so important, and I just I know we had a much longer opportunity to ask questions and talk, so I believe there's lots of questions have already been answered. So, but nice for the public to be able to hear it as well. So,
Thank you.
all right,
Appreciate
thanks for being here this evening. All right, trustees, could I please have a mover that the Board of Education receives the update on the Indigenous anti-racism vision and strategy and anti-racism vision and strategy for information as presented. Moved by Trustee Ward, seconded by Trustee Dickinson. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing no discussion, all those in favor? Opposed? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Moving on to 8.2, Idea Summit, Idea X 2025. Back over to you, Superintendent Gill.
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to introduce District Principal Kendra Seminato and Director George Kozlovic, who are going to present on this topic. I think some of the conversations I have with my friends who are in business talk about how we're preparing our kids to be entrepreneurs and how to be innovative. And you know what? I every single time I point them to this event, and this is a culmination of a lot of work that is done in classrooms by our staff. We acknowledge that, and obviously our students and parents who are getting involved as well. But it's just exciting to be able to share an opportunity that I think links the work that we do in our schools to preparing our students beyond grade 12. So pass it on.
Good evening. Thank you, Superintendent Gill. My name is Kendra Simonetto, and it is my joy and pleasure to be able to join you tonight and speak to you about Idea Summit returning. I know that this is not the first time you've heard me celebrate and express my excitement for Idea Summit, but it is back in yet just a week's time, and wanted to highlight it for you. We started the evening with students and the celebration of students, and I'd love to center us back into that focus as we talk about this wonderful experience for students that really is a celebration of Langley students and their learning. So Idea Summit, I for innovation, D for design, E for entrepreneurship, and A for altruism, was originally designed in 2016 under the brain idea of then Superintendent Gord Stewart. He wanted to create an opportunity for students to engage in an entrepreneurial mindset at an earlier stage in their lives. He came together and brought a think tank of teachers, administrators, students, and community members to create a project that would bring students from an idea, a simple concept, and a passion area through a business plan model where they would actually develop a product after many design iterations to actually sell in a marketplace environment. The idea that is rooted in this project is really student voice and choice. We have a resource in Langley that was produced by Langley teachers for Langley teachers, and it is designed through the Entrepreneur and Innovation Project. This is designed for students as young as 9 years old, grade 4, to be able to embark in a very experiential learning journey that spans over the sequence of many, many months in the classrooms in our school district. The student voice and choice comes to life as students engage in the core competencies. They are able to engage in communication with their peers and adults. They engage in creative thinking and critical thinking and collaboration. But it's all through a very holistic approach with a cross-curricular lens of many curricular areas coming together at the same time, layered in with language arts, financial literacy, you have ADST, career education, socials, science, and art. As you can see, there are a variety of projects and products that have been created by students through the years. And I have to say to you, as I visit instructional services, it goes to all the school fairs. There were 14 school fairs this year. And every year, the students continue to surprise us and amaze us with what they creatively create. So I actually am going to break the system here a little bit and ask if I may approach and provide you with some examples of the products so that you can feel, touch them, share them. I do have to collect them at the end because the kids need them for Tuesday. But I'd love for you to be able to see some of the brilliance. So please share them and pass them along. That's the point of the project. So as you can see, there's some examples on the board as well. Students get to take their creativity and apply it to a project, but there are some catches that they have to work within. So not just the cross-curricular realm that they're doing in this project, they are also confined to a $30 price limit to create all of the products for their school fair. You can imagine how that really presses their creativity, that they can't just go to the store and buy all the supplies. In fact, a second element for the project is that they must include a recycled or repurposed piece of product. What that means is, how do you take something that was going to be discarded and possibly waste and actually turn it into something new that can be purposeful and meaningful and actually sold to your peers? Some of the ideas that you see on the screen here include a mystery rock. So now this is not just your typical pet rock. The student took rocks, painted them, gave them personalities, gave them biographies that are in a little scroll, put them into boxes, and actually created a rarity scale that had fewer products at the top of the scale so that if you got one of those, it was worth more versus ones that are more familiar, kind of like some of the products you might see that kids play with. All of these pieces come together in this beautiful school fair. Students go through the financial literacy component, understand how their materials have to be deducted, what their profits were, and the final stage is the beautiful part where they donate 10% of their proceeds to a charity of their choosing. some more products that you can see here. Students are really applying their creativity. The 14 school fairs were a brilliant opportunity, not just for these students to showcase their learning and the process that they went through to come to the end product, but the other parts of the community, all the kids from K to 7 can actually be shoppers at the fair and see the brilliance of their peers in action. We have many pieces that are part of the puzzle to create this. You can imagine an event like this takes many, many months to pull together. Langley School District is an incredible supporter to this project and help to make sure that we can reduce barriers for students so that every student who wants to buy something has the opportunity to buy something, and every student who wishes to create products can do so. Here we have some more students that have created products out of their creativity. You can see that students have not only thought of something that is a passion area or maybe an area that they're interested in learning about, but many of the students expressed in their stories that they learned a new skill. Students learned how to crochet, they learned how to knit, students learned how to weld, how to woodwork to create the products, often in an intergenerational concept where they actually had other parts of their family teach them the skills. So I could talk about this, you can imagine, for quite a while. It's an area that I feel very passionate about, and I feel very honored to be part of it. But I think maybe a video that was captured by Walnut Grove students from a couple of years ago is a great way to set the stage.
Idea Summit in a nutshell is meant to be a celebration of entrepreneurial spirit of our students.
Idea Summit is all about kids bringing their ideas to life and showcasing them and sharing them with the rest of the community.
Students all the way from elementary through to secondary who at their home schools come up with an idea, a creative idea or a product, something they're really passionate about. They get an opportunity to create it, and then they bring it to the Idea Summit and have an opportunity to share it with the rest of the school district.
My name is Hunter and I go to West Langley and I made these Jacob's ladders.
Hello everyone, my name is Isabel and I'm from Linthorpe Elementary.
Hi, my name is Luke and I'm from Donegal Robbins, a new school.
This is our middle school robotics team from Langley Fundamental Middle and Secondary School.
I got this idea when me and my sister and my dad bought one of these stuff in Amazon for my mom. And I thought it was really cool, so it inspired me to make some.
Using the robots that we design ourselves and also like the program that the kids code themselves to complete a wide variety of missions over here.
When I was thinking about what I wanted my product to be, I realized I wanted my product to have a purpose. And that purpose was to recycle as much as I can as possible.
And other students from across the district come and visit, get an opportunity to see what they've created, buy some of the products, get inspired by some of the products, and really just celebrate the creativity and innovation that our students have in our schools.
So if you aren't already inspired to join us, I hope you do on May 6th at the Langley Event Center. The day is a full day event. We are excited to have over 100 students either showcasing or engaging in sharing their brilliance. Idea X students will be joining us and George Kozlovic will be speaking to that in a moment. We have over 3,000 students and staff coming through in the day to visit, shop at the marketplace, and celebrate student learning. This truly is a collaborative effort. Transportation and instructional services, professional services, learning support services, working together for months and months and months to bring this opportunity to life. We are so excited for folks to come and shop, but students are also able to engage in a pitch challenge. Those pre-selected students who showed interest can actually do a bit of a Shark Tank experience with the community members, entrepreneurs from the community who will serve as mentors, provide feedback on their business plan, and actually encourage them on their next steps. And then it all comes to an end in the beautiful finale where we truly have a celebration of the day and the journey that students have embarked on. So I hope you're inspired to join us. It truly will be a day to come, join, celebrate. It's a thriving, energetic environment, and bring your loonies and toonies and join us to be inspired. At this point, I don't know if there's any questions.
Trustees have any questions or comments? Trustee Dickinson.
I had the pleasure of coming last year, and it was literally one of the highlights of my year. It was so amazing. And I bought a little wooden tank. And I have two nephews that are 2.5, almost 3 right now. And it's one of their favorite toys. And it was made by one of the kids, which I just think is phenomenal. I'm looking at that book. That could be on Etsy. And that is amazing. What a cool piece of art made. I've never seen anything quite like it. And you could totally, that kid's going places. And then there's one other thing. I would think of one other kid that I met last year, and it actually turns out to be a teacher that I used to work with, her child. And he made a bunch of crocheted stuff. And he sold out before I even got there. So I had no chances to get anything this week. Don't worry, he's going to continue on. And continue on, he has. I now see him at craft fairs, at all the local craft fairs around. The kids pumping out like hundreds of these things a week, and making a ton of money. So it's really, really neat to see how it is inspiring some of those kids to go forward and move forward. And I think that's exactly what we need. So yeah, kudos to you. This program is so awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah,
it's truly inspiring what the kids can do, and it's wonderful to see that so many kids don't see this as the end, but actually the beginning of a next chapter for themselves.
Exactly. Yeah. Thank you.
Vice Chair Wilson.
Yeah, my question kind of goes along with that. Is just, sorry, I don't know if that's on. Have we seen, from all of these students over the years going through and doing Shark Tank type stuff, what types of other, after they've left the school community, successes have we seen or been documented, or do we have lists of that?
Well, I do know of a student that was, and maybe it's the same student you're referencing to, but he actually started his own little Etsy business and was able to sell the product online. That's maybe a curious question, is how do we actually find a way to track the students to see, do they actually pursue this in secondary school or beyond? Because I don't know if we have that yet.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Any other trustees have any no comments? Or I'm definitely planning on coming next week, and I know I haven't RSVP'd yet to you, Claire, but it is on my calendar and has been for some time. I just have yet to do that stuff. But I've just been trying to figure out where to go. But Claire gave me some tips on the best, because I know it goes all day, and then there's there's kind of a finale, and so I'm trying to get there for as much as I can. So I'm excited. It's incredible. So thank you so much for being here, and I always get excited to see your presentation.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome, George.
So good evening, everyone. As mentioned by Superintendent Gill, my name is George Kozovic. I'm the Director of Instruction. I don't have any toys or things to entertain you with. Sorry about that. But I am super excited and appreciate the opportunity to speak to you about another event that is somewhat connected to Idea Summit. Obviously, you can tell by the name, but a little bit different. And it was sort of born as a follow-up from that think tank. Idea Summit was created, and then the next step was the concept of creating an Idea X Challenge. So this will be the 3rd year that we are running the Idea X Challenge in Langley. If any of you are familiar with there's a larger international contest called the X Prize Challenge, which is open to teams across the world. That's where the idea actually came from. And basically what the Idea X Challenge is in Langley, it's groups of high school students, usually teams of around 3 to 6 students, who join forces together and create a team, and they are then presented with a local or global issue that they are asked to solve and present their best and most creative solution to. And as part of that, they are asked to take some of the thinking, the design thinking that they use in Idea Summit in creating those projects, and apply the design thinking process now to a larger, more global issue or a community issue. The challenge involves that team working together to create a presentation. Depending on the topic, sometimes they'll create a model or something else to go along with it. In this year's challenge, which I'll talk about in a moment, their extra piece is they have to create a media campaign around the particular topic, and then they present their solutions in front of a panel of judges. And as part of the competition, as these are high school students, we're very fortunate. We have up to $20,000 in scholarships that are available to some of the top teams in that. And that's thanks to the support of the Langley School District Foundation and our community partners and donors who contribute to that. So as I mentioned earlier, this is our third Idea X challenge here in Langley. Our first one was pre-COVID. That's the poster with the sort of the oceans there. So that challenge was students were asked to provide a land or ocean-based solution to the global problem of single-use plastic. So a really relevant problem, single-use plastics. We hear a lot about it. We're still dealing with that and lots of things. So that was the challenge that particular year. And then we reemerged after COVID in 2023 was our second attempt. That one was really interesting because the students were asked to design a future Langley that could exist in 50 years, which was environmentally responsible, earth conscious, and incorporated Indigenous perspectives and honored what would be important to today's residents. And that was a really neat challenge because two of our judges were the mayors of the township and the city who were actually part of our judging team who helped make those decisions. So that was a really neat challenge. Here's a picture in 2023. Oops, it says 2025. That's my error. This was the 2023 group. We haven't awarded the 2025 yet. You'll see that there are 5 different winning teams. So in 2023, we had 9 teams compete. And it's not so much about choosing the winning team and just giving all the scholarships to one team. What the judges decided, they based it on which teams had the best ideas, and they felt there was 5 teams that really came up with some amazing solutions and ideas. So rather than just awarding one winner, they actually took the funds that were available and divided them up amongst all of the 5 teams. And every student from those 5 teams received some portion of scholarship money, which they could then use in post-secondary. And it was really based on the quality of their solutions. So that brings us to 2025 and this year's challenge. And this year's challenge is really, I really find it a very unique and neat challenge as we think about the last number of years in our province because it relates to the issue of forest fires. And so this year's challenge is the students have been asked to design a culturally sensitive and environmentally responsible solution to reduce human-caused wildfires, specifically in the local Harrison area, while minimizing the negative impacts on First Nations cultural practices and wildlife. So think about the challenge that we've put in front of our students to try to come up with solutions to that. Solutions that I think our province has been looking to try to figure out on their own. And we've got some students who are coming up with some really amazing ideas. The Idea X Challenge is organized by one of our district instructional teachers who works in our department, Miss Sandra Averill. She's this year being supported by one of our newer instructional services teachers, Miss Lindgren Stryker. And Miss Averill actually comes up with these challenges herself. And then she actually works with industry and ministry folks to actually make sure that the challenge is a reasonable challenge and gets insight from them. So in creating this challenge, Miss Averill worked with local First Nations groups, including Kwantlen and the Harrison First Nations groups. She also reached out and worked with the Ministry of Forestry in creating this challenge. So that's how the challenges are created. So they have been included in that. This year we have 7 teams competing. And for the first time ever, we actually have a middle school team who has put a team forward. So it's really neat. We have a group of students from Yorkson who are competing against high school students in this challenge. So that will be very interesting in terms of see how they do. They have been working on this since January. So the teams were brought together in January, actually in this room for a kickoff event where they were introduced to the project and the challenge. And then they have from January to May to work on creating solutions and creating answers to this particular problem. All of the teams came back into this room in the first week of April in what's something we call first pass, where they have to present their solutions to a small panel, which included Miss Averill and Miss Lindgren Stryker and myself. and to make sure that we felt that they were ready to move on to the final. And all 7 teams, I'm happy to say, passed the first pass. So they've moved on and they will all be competing in the final. And then coming up on May 16th, we also do a lot of work to actually help the students become better at their presentation. So on May 16th, which is a Pro D Day, all of the students actually come together and spend the day with Miss Averill and Miss Lindgren Stryker, and they actually fine tune their presentations. So those teachers actually work with them, give them feedback, because part of the challenge is also helping students learn how do you get up in front of a panel of people and judges and present properly? How do you actually make your presentations, as professional as possible? So that's coming up as well. And then that culminates in our final Idea X finale, which will be taking place on Thursday, May the 29th at the Langley Event Center. So during that finale, students will be giving final presentations. The event will run between 2:30 and 5:30. We have another panel of expert judges, which we're putting together. We're expecting a panel of 5. We already have most of them confirmed. We have members from BC Wildfire. We have some former forest firefighters as part of our panel. We have some First Nations groups represented on our panel. And they will once again make the decisions around those scholarship awards. You haven't received it yet, but you will, through Claire, receive a formal invitation to join us, and I hope that you can join us for this. Having experienced the 2023, it is incredible, and having watched the first pass, it is incredible to see the solutions that our students come up with. And the other neat thing that I really have found with the process is, even though you have 7 teams, the teams all have unique solutions. So it's not that every team is proposing the same things. While they have similarities, there is a great amount of uniqueness between the different challenges. It's a really unique event, really again focuses on students applying their skills to real world challenges and then figuring out how do we communicate that in a way that we can, explain our solutions. And they only have 7 minutes to do that. That's how long their presentation is, which is really challenging. And we time them, and there's a buzzer, and they have to actually confine it in that. And it was interesting to watch them through the first pass, as most of them had it down to a science, even at the first pass, finishing their presentation seconds before the buzzer went off. So again, hope you can join us. And then the last thing I would say, and I know Kendra messaged it, we would be remiss to say that the Idea Summit and the Idea X Challenge would not happen without the support of both the Langley School District, district leadership team, the trustees in terms of everything that you do financially to support us, but also the Langley School District Foundation and the work they do as they bring in a whole bunch of external partners who help support this event. As I mentioned, the $20,000 in scholarships as well. We could not do that without the support of the foundation as well and the district to help us make that. So that's our Idea X Challenge, and I'm happy to answer any questions about the event.
Thank you. Trustees, do you have any questions or comments? No, trustees? No? Okay. All right. Well, thank you. And I just made sure it was on my calendar as well. So I'm definitely going to try to be there. And I've been in the past, and it's such a great event. So pretty inspiring. So thank you for being here, and seeing no questions. I will ask trustees to have a motion, please, that the Board of Education receives the report on the 2025 Idea Summit and 2025 Idea X for information as presented. Do I have a mover? Moved by Vice Chair Wilson, seconded by Trustee Fox. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing no discussion on the motion, all those in favor? Opposed? Carried unanimously. Moving on to 8.3, school calendars 2025-2026. Back to you, Superintendent Gill.
Thank you. This evening we have District Principal Kevin Reeve here to present school calendars. Unbelievable that we're already preparing for next year, and I want to thank Kevin for his work, and to the work of all of our partners and our admin teams who have been contributing to getting these calendars together. So
thank you, Superintendent Gill. I have the opportunity to follow some great presentations, and within my presentation, they all fall on a date. And the dates that you're going to see are for the 25-26 school year. And then in the second motion, we'll be looking at the 27-28 school year. To give some background, the Langley School District continues to work with an open heart and an open mind to increase alignment between school calendars while respecting unique community needs and working with our partners. Also, we utilize a 2-week spring break by adding calendar variation days where classes are not in session. And we have got input and gathered from all of our partner groups and administration, along with community and staff, and feedback and information from previous calendar consultations. The 2-week spring break has been part of the Langley School District for over 10 years now, and it includes time is added about approximately 10 minutes per day on all other instructional days. Excuse me, to accumulate 5 extra days at spring break this year. The time is applied to spring break to extend it, and the additional week only affects instructional time at schools. School board office staff, maintenance staff, IT staff, and all other 12-month employees are not affected. QP 1260 and the district have in the past balanced the extra week of spring break with a calendar variation agreement for some school-based support employees. And the total number of days in the school year meets the calendar regulations specified for instruction for students for kindergartens for kindergarten to grade 12. In the 2025-2026 school year, there will be 187 days in the school calendar. Of those 187 days, 180 are instructional, where students are in session, and 7 are non-instructional, students are not in session. And that it mirrors this school year as well. 3 of those 7 non-instructional days are designated professional development days, with 2 days being learning update, learning update preparation, which used to be called report card preparation, and design and assessment days. We have 1 school improvement day on September 29th, and 1 administration day, which will be our last day of school of June 26th. There are some notes to make as we have 8 calendars to look at. There are 6 different calendars that have some variations to them. One piece to note is all of our elementary school calendars include student inclusive conferences. The district has met the goal to have all 32 elementary schools using student inclusive conferences for the 25-26 school year. Langley Education Center calendars based on a 4-day work week, resulting in different dates for non-instructional days. And there are no significant changes to the Langley Education's calendar from the 25-26 from the current year. Langley Fine Arts is one of our is a K-12 school meeting the requirements of elementary, middle, and secondary on 1 site. Langley Fundamentals Middle Secondary School meets both middle and secondary requirements on 1 site. We have Simon's UConnect with 2 separate schools operating on 1 site, and Vanguard, which works on a quarter calendar system. The calendars to be reviewed that were in the staff report that are in your board package are the elementary with a highlight of student inclusive conferences, middle with parent-teacher interviews, secondary semester schools, Langley Education Center, Langley Fine Arts School, Langley Fundamental Middle Secondary School, Simon's and UConnect, and Vanguard Secondary School. This is just a sample of one of the calendars that will be posted on the district website, and you have the other 7 in your board package. We are in calendar compliance as all school calendars have been checked to ensure they comply with relevant school calendar regulations. We meet the minimum hours of instruction per year specific to the school regulation for 25-26, and school days have been adjusted with LTA agreement to meet the required hours of instruction at each grade level, with kindergarten having 853 hours, 1 to 7, 878 hours, and 8 to 12, 952 hours. The recommended board motion is that the Board of Education approves the school calendars for the 25-26 school year as presented.
Thank you, trustees. Any questions or comments? So trustee Neufeld.
Yeah, let's see that. Seeing every year, getting buy-in from the teachers, and I think that my daughter in particular really enjoys it, and so yeah, it's really it's good.
Vice Chair Wilson.
Great. I noticed we changed report card prep to learning. What was it? Learning
updates.
Learning updates. Why did we decide to change the name?
That language coincides with what we are the reporting order from the Ministry of Education.
Okay, and then the other question was, you mentioned that there was often calendar variation minutes for support staff. Is that also happening again with this calendar?
Yes, their day will be extended, so that will enable them, their hours per day will be increased, or minutes per day will be increased.
Great, thank you.
Okay, any other trustees? No? Okay, seeing no other trustees with any questions, could I please have a mover for the motion that the Board of Education approves the district calendar for school year 2027-2028 as presented? Moved by trustee Wright. Oh, sorry. Oh, I skipped ahead. My apologies. Getting excited here. I'm skipping ahead. 2020. Okay, I'll just say it again so it's correct. That the Board of Education approves the school calendars for the 2025-26 school year as presented. Okay, moved by Vice Chair Wilson, seconded by Trustee Fox. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing no discussion, all those in favor? Opposed? Carried unanimously. Now I will move along to the next item, 8.4, District Calendar 2027-2028 consultation.
Thank you. Thank you very much. At this point in time, as we are looking at the district calendar for 2027-2028, so we were able to meet our requirements of having 3 years of calendar on our website, so parents and communities can plan for future events. Again, we are in calendar compliance. The proposed calendar has been reviewed, and the district proposed calendar meets the minimum regular hours of instruction that was outlined in the last presentation. And again, there have been no changes for the 2027-2028 school calendar year. And the proposed district calendar only details instructional days, non-instructional days, and statutory holidays and vacation days. There will be some fine tuning when we get to May 2027. And the calendar that you will see will have the beginning date of the school year, the end date, winter break, and spring break. The consultation process on this proposed calendar started February 26 and concluded on March 26, 2025, and this is in compliance with ministry calendar regulations. So I outlined briefly in your board package, you will have a calendar that you can probably see a little bit more clearly, but you'll notice in the 2027-2028 school year, we start a little bit later on September 7th, and we end, if I had my glasses and a binocular, I'd be able to tell you that I believe we end on the 28th, if that 29th. But spring break, winter break coincides with the rest of the province, as well as our spring break meets the Langley Teacher Association and the district's collective agreement for our spring break, and then the calendar variation minutes making our spring break 2 weeks. And the recommended board motion is that the Board of Education approves the district calendar for the school year of 2028 as presented.
Thank you. Trustees, questions? Trustee Fox.
14.
For
this calendar. Go back one. It's a Monday. If we had it done it on a Friday.
Part of our feedback is that we try to balance the number of Mondays and Fridays that we have for non-instructional days. That will enable staff that don't work full-time to utilize those professional development days or design and assessment days.
And can I take the wife out?
It's Valentine's.
So you're gonna have a non-instructional day on Valentine's Day?
These aren't fixed days either.
That's when the kids make their Valentines for their parents.
They do it the whole week.
Oh, man. A failed opportunity. Could have been a 4-day weekend. Thank you. Thank you for that advice.
Okay, thank you, trustee Fox. Any other trustees have any questions, comments? No? All right, thank you very much. So if I could please have a mover that the Board of Education approves the district calendar for school year 2027-2028 as presented. Moved by trustee Dickinson, seconded by trustee Ward. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing no discussion, all those in favor? Opposed? Carried unanimously. Thank you. All right, and now we're moving along to 9 secretary treasurer's reports. And I'm going to pass this over to you, Secretary Treasurer Isley.
Thank you, Chair. In your package tonight is the annual facility grant, the AFG fund, that we received from the ministry to do maintenance work in our facilities. Our facility staff has gone and put their priority list together based on their assessments of the schools, and that proposal is in your package for you tonight. Did want to point out that there was an increase this year of about 9.9%. It's one of the largest increases we've seen that I've seen since I've been in the district. That was added to the AFG for this year. Also wanted to point out, as in the past, the reporting software that the ministry uses, CAMS, is deducted from that amount as all districts contribute to that. Our contribution of that is just under $58,000, bringing our total just over $4.7 million.
Thank you. Trustees, did you have any questions? No? Oh, trustee Ward?
Yes, through the chair, the 9%. So that's a good thing. But what is the standard annual that we normally see?
It's actually rare. It's been pretty much usually a status quo amount year over year. Occasionally, they've allowed some funds for salary increases, but that hasn't been a consistent amount. So there really is no consistent amount. It was a bit of shocking to the system that there was a 9.9% increase.
Any other trustees? Okay, could I please have a mover for the motion that the Board of Education approves the annual facilities grant 2025-2026 spending plan as presented? Moved by trustee Fox, seconded by trustee Rye. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing no discussion, all those in favor? Opposed? Carried unanimously. Moving on to 9.2 annual 5-year capital plan bylaw 2025-2026. Back to you, Secretary Treasurer Isley.
Thank you, Chair. As trustees will recall, every year districts are required to submit their 5-year capital plan. The major capital portion is due in June of each year. That's for things like site acquisitions or additions or new builds to schools. And then in September, the minor capital, which are smaller projects that are done at schools, at things like playgrounds, buses, and those like. Every March, we receive from the ministry the capital plan response letter, which outlines the items that the ministry has taken to the next step in the process for the district or have approved when it comes to minor capital. And they do require a bylaw to be done so that we can access those funds to start those projects. So our capital plan response letter this year received no changes on major capital. So there were no approvals for any major projects in our capital plan response letter. My understanding, this is very similar across the province, other than situations where there were schools that had been destroyed by fire and those kind of things that needed replacement. There were no new announcements for new projects started in this go around from the ministry. We did receive everything that we asked for in our minor capital. So that includes $700,000 for a sanitary upgrade for No Booth. So that'll replace the septic system that is going end of life. We are going to be allowed to rewire the Wi-Fi connections of the category 6A connections for 4 schools for $400,000. The food program capital has approved 5 kitchens or 5 kitchen upgrades at 5 schools for a total of $100,000 and an accessible playground at No Booth Elementary, as well as 2 route buses and a wheelchair bus. Also in our capital plan response letter, last year we were approved to do the project definition report for an addition to RE Mountain. In that this year's response letter, they did acknowledge that project definition report has been submitted and is sitting and waiting in Treasury for Treasury Board approval. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Trustees, any questions? Trustee Fox.
Thank you, Chair. Through you to Secretary Treasurer, how many rooms is the addition at RE Mountain?
12.
12?
Yeah, plus a couple of resource spaces.
Okay. Will that eliminate a significant number, all, or a portion of the existing boardrooms?
Since how it hasn't been approved yet, the timeline for the new Smith Secondary will be done before the addition.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Trustee Neufeld.
Make sure I hit my button this time. Just seeing all those kitchen upgrades, it's good to see. I'm assuming that's for feeding future programs. Are there other schools that are left behind, or is this kind of catching every school up?
Not all schools, no. So we're going through the ones with the biggest needs first. So I think there were 6 that were approved in last year's response letter, another 5 this year.
Great. Thank you.
Any other trustees? No? Okay. Sorry, just 1 sec here. I'm just getting to where I am. Okay. All right, we have several motions before us here, recommend motions. So could I please first have mover that the school district number 35 Langley capital plan 2025-2026 capital bylaw number 2025-26 CPSD 35-01 be given first reading. Do I have a mover? Moved by trustee Fox, seconded by trustee Ward. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing no discussion, all those in favor? Opposed? Carried unanimously. Next, recommended motion. Could I please have a mover that the school district number 35 Langley capital plan 2025-2026 capital bylaw number 2025-26 CPSD 35-01 be given second reading. Moved by trustee Dickinson, seconded by trustee Rye. Any discussion on the motion? See no discussion. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried unanimously. Next recommended motion. Could I please have a mover that the Board of Education of School District number 35 Langley approves having all 3 readings of the capital plan 2025-2026 capital bylaw number 2025-26 CPSD 35-01 at tonight's meeting. Moved by Vice Chair Wilson, seconded by trustee Fox. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing no discussion, all those in favor? Opposed? Carried unanimously. The last recommended motion on this item is, could I please have a mover that the school district number 35 Langley capital plan 2025-2026 capital bylaw number 2025-26 CPSD 35-01 be given third reading, passed and adopted on this 29th day of April 2025. Moved by Trustee Dickinson, seconded by trustee Fox. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing no discussion, all those in favor? Opposed? Carried unanimously. Thank you. My next one. All right, now we're moving on to 9.3 school site acquisition charge, SSAC. I'm going to pass this back over to you, Secretary Treasurer Isley.
Thank you, Chair. Trustees may recall, also as part of the capital planning process cycle, the ministry requires us to annually go through the school site acquisition charge process. Even if there is no changes to those rates, the district has been at the max rate for a number of years. But we are required annually to go through that process. At the June meeting, we brought the eligible school sites, which is the basis of that. Those were sent to the municipalities who accepted those eligible school sites, and the ministry, as part of the capital response letter, approved the submission of those sites. We are now required to do a bylaw annually for those school site acquisition charges, even if there are no changes. Those that bylaw is in your package, and the readings are in there for you for tonight.
Trustees, any questions? No? Okay. Could I please have a mover for our first recommended motion? We have a series of motions again with this item. So could I have a mover that the school district number 35 Langley SSAC bylaw 2025-01 school site acquisition charge bylaw be given first reading? Moved by trustee Dickinson, seconded by Vice Chair Wilson. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing no discussion, all those in favor? Opposed? Carried unanimously. Next, could I please have a mover for the motion that the school district number 35 Langley SSAC bylaw 2025-0-01 school site acquisition charge bylaw be given second reading? Moved by trustee Dickinson, seconded by trustee Fox. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing no discussion, all those in favor? Opposed? Carried unanimously. Next motion, could I please have a mover that the Board of Education of School District number 35 Langley approves having all three readings of the SSAC bylaw 2025-01 school site acquisition charge bylaw as presented? Moved by trustee Ward, seconded by trustee Dickinson. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing no discussion, all those in favor? Opposed? Carried unanimously. Last recommended motion on this item, could I please have a mover that the school district number 35 Langley SSAC bylaw 2025-01 school site acquisition charge bylaw be given third reading, passed and adopted on the 29th day of April 2025. Do I have a mover? Moved by trustee Dickinson, seconded by Vice Chair Wilson. All right, any discussion on the motion? Seeing no discussion, all those in favor? Opposed? Carried unanimously. All right, next we're moving along to policy committee. We have two policies that have been out for the last 3 months, since our January 28th board meeting. They were sent out. A notice of motion was made to send it out to our education community and its education partner groups that we intend to adopt these motions. The first one is 10.1, policy 7, board operations. I won't go through it again because we've already discussed it at previous meetings, but do I have a mover that the Board of Education approves policy 7, board of operations as presented? Moved by trustee Dickinson, seconded by trustee Fox. Is there any discussion on the, okay, Vice Chair Wilson.
Yes, I wasn't at the last meeting because I was on vacation when it came. So I just wondered if there was any discussion on the motion where it discusses extraordinary circumstances where a trustee might be able to attend a meeting virtually. And who decides on if it's extraordinary? sorry, it's 4.7 and it says, that attending a meeting are able to communicate with each other. Such attendance shall only be permitted where trustee participation is prevented by extraordinary circumstances and can be accommodated by staff. So I just wondered if what the extraordinary, if there was any examples given. I think trustee Ward has.
I know we did discuss it because I actually remember trustee Ward, I was just actually asking Secretary Treasurer Isley about the discussion, but maybe trustee Ward, do you remember who was on the policy committee?
Don't recall exactly, but I think we left it. I had that same sort of concern at the time, but more specified language can box you in. So, I mean, we were open to the idea of trying to itemize different potential things that could happen, but there was the idea of leaning on discretion. But of course, the problem with that is if they're well, it could Pandora's box, right? So there's a balance between those two. I don't know what exactly it is, but this is how we arrived.
I do recall that as well, because when if you specify it too much, then that does really put it into a box as well, and then it makes it difficult. So we actually had quite a robust conversation, I remember at the time when it was at policy committee about this, and possibly even the board meeting. And I'd have to go back and check, but I know we did have a fair bit of discussion on that. Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm not going to amend it because it's already been out for feedback. So I just wondered if that had happened.
Any other trustees have any questions on this or discussion? No? Okay. All right, then it's the motion has been moved and seconded. So could I please have a show of hands for all those in favor? Opposed? Carried with Vice Chair Wilson opposed. Next is 10.2, notice of motion return, policy 19, naming of schools. Again, we've discussed this back in January and previously to that. So it's been out to the public since the end of January. So could I please have a mover that the Board of Education approves policy 19, board operations as presented? Moved by trustee Ward, seconded by trustee Rye. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing no discussion, could I please have then a show of hands for all those in favor? Any opposed? Carried unanimously. All right, thank you. Moving along, we're getting near the end of our agenda here. Under new business, we had no items added under new business. So I will move along to trustee comments. Maybe I'll start on my left, maybe. Trustee Neufeld, if you have anything you'd like to say. No, you're good. Okay. Did I skip something? Oh. No, that's just what I'm asking. Trustee comments. I'm just.
It's just.
Oh, sorry. Did I say?
Well, now that policy has been in, but the agenda was done before the policy was changed.
My apologies. Yeah, that's right. As it was changed. Yeah. All right. So, Trustee Neufeld, you're good. Yeah. Good catch. Thank you. Okay, Trustee Fox.
Yeah. Of course, there's always the business session. If you could synthesize the business session in short terminology, it would be give us more money. We're short. It's interesting conversing with other trustees from other districts because everybody is in a in a state of flux right now as their budgets are coming together and the money is short. I do want to say that I appreciate the work of our finance staff, secretary treasurer and assistant secretary treasurer, the work they do. Actually, our condition in right now financially is very positive compared to some of the other districts. But there were motions still on the floor requesting the provincial government to reconsider their financial decisions relative to funding education in the province. And they were unanimously supported, as you might expect. And leading the way, actually, the primary motion was put forward by our neighbors to the west, Surrey, as one might expect. The second thing I wanted to just mention we had a great presentation here on Idea Summit on Idea X. I had the opportunity to adjudicate what's called an entrepreneurial challenge at Aldergrove Secondary, where the students had to actually research a local nonprofit and create a business plan as to why they felt that this nonprofit should deserve a $5,000 award. And there was 6 presentations done by students in this particular entrepreneurial class, and it was great. They were outstanding. They had to research them. They had to make their business case for it. And I was very pleased to see that it was the Langley Senior Center that got the award. So I can go down there now and have free square dance lessons, and maybe some other people with gray hair could join me. I'm not sure who I'm referring to though.
Red light.
You cannot get a membership yet in the senior center.
Oh, gray hair. I can join you.
I noticed that the other day too. Anyway, it was very well done, and it's great to see these entrepreneurial. It fits into that same mold of the Idea Summit and so on. Seeing the students getting the idea of doing the research, presenting, and making a case, which I think is an important part of our educational system. So, thank you.
Yep, I attended the BCSTA.
I as well attended the BCSTA AGM for the last 3 days. We also had the opportunity to vote in a new president, VP, and directors. That was a lot of information, speeches. We want to choose the right person to represent. So yeah, it was good. It was informative.
Bob Rolls, sorry, or Bob.
All right, I will pass over to you, Vice Chair Wilson.
Great. I just want to wish everybody a good evening, and I'm sorry, but unfortunately I have to leave before question period because I have a ferry to catch. So thank you for the great meeting.
Trustee Dickinson. Trustee Ward.
I'd just like to agree with other trustees on the comments about the BCSTA, but in particular, our presentations tonight didn't say anything at the time, but Langley's focus on entrepreneurship is quite outstanding. And with Gord Stewart kind of initiating that in 2016, a couple of years before I was able to be part of this, but just to be in a governance role while everybody does the hard work, it's quite encouraging that we see so many young entrepreneurs. So Langley's got a bright future. So anyhow, thank you.
Thank you. And I as well was able to attend the BCSTA AGM with my fellow trustees, and it's always a great event and lots of advocacy happening, and great things hopefully coming forward now that our new board at BCSTA will be advocating on our behalf of all the trustees in the province. And enjoyed spending some time with my fellow trustees as well. It's always nice to get away and have some time. So I won't say anything more. Other than we're going to move on to question period. Question period is provided at board meetings. The purpose is to ensure that those present in the audience have an opportunity to obtain clarification concerning business conducted during that meeting, Priority will be given to responding to one question per person before considering further questions from any individual. The following will help the public develop questions for question period at a board meeting that is keeping with the goal of a respectful and focused meeting. Questions need to be directed to the chair and not to staff, need to be related directly to the topic on the agenda, need to be succinct, focused, and not be a statement, may not be asked that are related to personnel or directed at an individual trustee, may not be asked that are related to contract negotiations, and the questioner shall provide their name so that it can be reflected in the minutes. All of the above are directions provided for in board policy number 7, board operations. The chair may answer, may defer to staff, or indicate a question may not be in keeping with the above guidelines. The board appreciates the public's interest and wants to ensure a professional meeting is conducted with question period focused on providing guests with the clarification they seek. Trustees also welcome questions from members of the public apart from question period. Our contact information is available on the school district website. Are there any questions? No. All right. No questions. We're missing a couple here that usually do ask questions. Yeah. Oh, good. So, all right, we will move on then to adjournment. Can I have a mover that the meeting be adjourned at 8:43 p.m. moved by Trustee Ward, seconded by Trustee Fox. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried unanimously. Have a great night, everyone. Thanks for sticking out with us a little bit longer tonight.